Hello everyone! Welcome back to my little series that I'm doing where I talk about the books that I read each month. So in this video, I'm going to be talking about the books that I read in February of 2026. Even though I'm posting it very late, I'm still going to talk about it because I love to use these videos as a little sort of diary entry for myself to look back on and see what I was reading, what I liked, and my thoughts on the books. So in February, I read 7 books, which I was very excited about because I feel like I always read 6 books a month for some reason. So I felt proud that I was able to get an extra one in February. And I sort of had a mixed bag, but my usual genres: fantasy, romance, and a little thriller in there. So the first book that I read was The Assassin's Apprentice, and that is a fantasy book in the Farseer trilogy. It's the first book. I heard so much about this series and about how good it is. I think there's like 20 books. Like, it's a really, really long series, but people have highly recommended it to me and talk about it as a great fantasy series. I'm not gonna lie, I was so confused. I do like fantasy, but I feel like I'm more of a romantasy person, and this had no romance in it, and it was so hard for me to follow. I don't know if romance is easier for me to follow or what was happening, but I just was not understanding. I was like looking up like chapter by chapter guides, trying to look up like the spark notes and different things, and what I was reading in the summaries was not at all what I was understanding from the book. So I don't know what happened there. That one just went over my head. I would be interested to maybe give it a second try like in the summer when there's less going on, so I have more time to focus on the meaning of the book, but for now, I'm going to put that series down because, it was just going right over my head. It was too much for me. So then I switched gears and read Any Trope But You, which is a romance. I felt like I just needed something easy and mindless after that Assassin's Apprentice, but I really enjoyed Any Trope But You. It's a little winter romance. An author goes up to a like Alaskan retreat sort of place to like get away and get her mind off things. So it takes place like there's a lot of outdoorsy winter things happening in the background of the romance. So that was fun to read in February, a little romance. Because I feel like a lot of them are like set at the beach because they're like what you want to read in the summer, like the beach reads. So I was happy to find a little winter one. And then I kept on the same path with the little winter romance and read Unsteady, which I also believe is a part of a series, the Undone series. I'm not sure if that series follows the same characters or just sort of has the same like setup, I think. But anyway, I really liked Unsteady. It was a hockey slash figure skating romance, so also very wintry, very in line with the Olympics, which I was loving and watching. So I love that one. I will say there was some there's some trigger warnings for things in that book. Like it dealt with alcohol abuse and some like bad relationships that the characters were dealing with. So wouldn't recommend it if you're looking for just like an easy little romance. There was definitely some heavier topics in that one, but I still really enjoyed it, and it wasn't like anything too much, but just made me feel like more connected to the characters because I was so enwrapped in their situations, if you will. Next, in February, I read Wuthering Heights, of course, by Emily Bronte. I loved this one. I really wanted to read it before I watched the movie since there was so much hype around the movie coming out. I wanted to reread the book and remind myself everything that happened. I really enjoyed rereading this book. I hadn't read it since high school when it was like assigned to me. So definitely I have grown up a lot since then and was just able to understand it so much more and really appreciate the writing and the scenes and the different characters and everything. So loved reading it, hated the movie. I feel like that's not a hot take. I think a lot of people were upset with the movie just because it went a different direction with the book. Which is fine, but I feel like because this is such a classic, like, I just wanted a classic rendition. I really wasn't looking for like a modernized, smutty version of the book. Also think it was just weird. Like, I don't know how else to say it. My husband went with me to see the movie, and on the ride home from the theater, I was like explaining the entire book to him because they like made certain characters like more evil in the movie when they weren't evil in the book. Like, so I just didn't like that. Like, I was like, there was more like friendship in the book than in the movie, and I feel like in the movie it seemed like there was a lot of like people trying to get revenge on others, and that just wasn't really my vibe. So hated the book. Hated the movie, but loved rereading the book and would recommend you reread it as well, especially if you didn't love the movie. Next, I read Sorcery and Small Magics, which I believe a second book is coming out soon, so I will definitely be on the lookout for that. This is a fiction, fantasy, and queer romance, so totally up my alley. I loved it. It follows two characters who are like a part of the same magic ministry, but they have two very different approaches to their work, so it's sort of a small enemies to lovers trope. It definitely wasn't as romance heavy as I assumed it would be. Like, there was no like real like spicy scenes or chapters or anything like that. It was just sort of the characters like slowly falling in love with each other and going through different situations together. So it's definitely not a spicy romance, but it was a really lovely and wholesome story, and I'm definitely excited to read the second one because I just really fell in love with the characters and their cute little romance. And of course, I love a fantasy, so another romantasy added to my love it list. Next, I read The Plot, which was highly recommended to me by my mom. I believe she read it with her book club when it came out. So I'm late to the party on The Plot, but I loved it. It's a fiction thriller. It was just really well written. I feel like the like exciting part about thrillers is that you don't know like what's gonna happen, and I truly felt like that this whole time that I was reading The Plot. It was just a really cool idea. There's like an author who writes a book, and pretty much he's being like blackmailed because someone is like saying that he plagiarized the plot of the book, and then like a whole series of things unfolds. So it was just a really, really cool idea because it was sort of like a book within a book where you're reading some excerpts from the book that the author wrote, but then the actual book is like about what he's doing and like going through this whole situation. So it was just a really, really cool idea, and I feel like it was really well executed, and it kept me on my toes the whole time. And I love the way it ended. I feel like that's also something with thrillers. Like, sometimes I'm like so intrigued the whole time and then I don't like how it ends, but I did like how this one ended, so it was just a 10 out of 10. Really, really loved it. And when I told my mom that I had read it, she said, "Did you read the sequel?" And I was like, "No, I didn't know there was a sequel." I feel like every single book has a sequel or is part of a series nowadays. So I didn't even know there was a sequel. So I will definitely be reading that as well. And then the last book that I read in February, my sneaky 7th book, since got to 7 this month, was The Love Haters. Just back to a little beachy romance. I will say this one was a little cheesy for me. I love romance in general, but this one was just like a little too much, a little too like unbelievable in like a Hallmarky way, where I was like, really, like that would never happen, and it was just a little cringe for me. But you know, there's a lot worse things than a cringy romance. I love reading love stories, so it's fine to get a cringy one every now and again. I also think that The Love Haters was the book, the romance that I read this month, where the author had like a little note at the end about why she writes romance and how much it means to her, and also how important it is. It's not just like some silly little nonsense that, you know, is meaningless. So that was really cute, because I feel like that sort of like validated my love for romance, because I feel like it is sort of like looked down upon as a genre in general. But she wrote a really sweet little author's note at the end, so I really appreciated that, even though I did think her book was a little bit cheesy. But like I said, I'll take any romance that I can get. These were the 7 books I read in February. Thank you so much for following along, and can't wait to hear what you're reading. See you next month.